my last ace in actual competing. But I'm not going to rule out the fact that I would, would I do it in an instance? I don't know.
Yeah. Do what you got to do
But
in the heat of the moment.
I don't have it. I
You
don't have it in the
don't make it like a thing where it's like your special move.
I don't want it, and I do fear for new arm wrestlers trying to train the King's move. And they don't.
Is it dangerous if you don't know what you're doing?
100% dangerous. Like
Explain to me what can
100%.
happen to someone who does a King's move who don't know what they're doing. Explain to me what can happen to them.
A torn bicep. A torn bicep. And I watched it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't like. I hate to refer to my good buddy Mike Runkle in a negative situation, but I mean he tore his bicep against our buddy Roger Bailey.
Yeah, I think I saw that feed.
Dropped into a King's move.
I thought he broke some, but you didn't hear a crack, so I could tell it was something like that. Yeah. So you bring up side pressure being one of the last kind of elements to add to your arsenal. I was training at practice, and I have no side pressure really. Power, and it is sort of something when you train for it, you got to do it right. Because I mean, I feel like if you do it wrong, you could do a lot more damage than good. Is that something that you would say you would wait to improve that on, or is that more of a case by case thing? You don't want to start off with that, right?
Absolutely. So I think like any new arm wrestler, you got to evaluate your strengths and weaknesses. And we talked about this in recent episodes on the fix. And it's like when you look at what are your components that matter the most, you think of like the arm wrestling, the chain, it starts from the fingertips and it works its way down the arm towards your body. So your areas of priority start up here. Everything else beyond this hand and wrist takes a second and third priority. Okay. Now, are they important? Absolutely. And even for me, I want this whole chain shored up before I start digging into this deep elbow side pressure. Because if I have strong shoulders, strong lats, strong biceps, and my chain from the hand down, because this is where it starts. If I can't maintain flat wrist or wrist flexion, nothing else matters. Side pressure does it, nothing matters unless I'm just going to go like that. And that's a whole different move. And that's not healthy for a new arm wrestler either.
Well, that's another thing that brings up the floppy. Is it floppy dangerous as well?
Yeah, stay away from it. Focus. New arm wrestlers, focus on your hand. Learn to gain it or learn to gain this or at least keep this. If you're like, there's no winning arm wrestling as a new arm wrestler like this without fear of danger. So, like in my opinion, train from the fingertip down. Sure everything up. Sure everything up in the bicep, in the shoulder, in the lat, in the pec. And then at that point, if you are not good enough side pressure wise with all those components, then maybe start working. But let's be serious. You know as well as I do, a really strong hand, a cup and back pressure, takes away side pressure.
Yeah.
So there's you can win a match without side pressure. If I can take your arm this way, center table pin you this way, that's the path of least resistance. The path of most resistance is this way through bone structure.
Yeah.
So, obviously Todd Hutchings and different people are going to probably argue that.
He's probably there's anomalies everywhere. He's the anomaly. You know what I mean?
He's the exception to the rule.
Yeah.
But yeah, I believe that you can generate side pressure without killing your elbow. You can generate side pressure through pec, through shoulder engagement, through hand and cup and everything else, and then lean your side pressure once you control the center of the table this way.
Yeah.
So I think we're seeing a trend right now where a lot of new arm wrestlers are digging straight into side pressure, and I don't think, this is my personal opinion. It could be wrong. Somebody might want to kill me in the comments, but I think that this is a bad thing. I think that side pressure.
You don't want to teach
there's
that.
So many more things. Listen, guys, if you're starting arm wrestling, don't worry about going like that. Worry about going like this. Everything you do is this. It's just wrist flexion, finger containment, control from the hand. And then once you get to where you need to get, then maybe start thinking about side pressure. But I mean, I can tell you, even starting to dig into it now, like, the pain that you get in the elbows when you're really driving.
That's what I'm dealing with on and off. It's almost like I dang it, but I don't mess it up real bad. And then I'll take 2 months and kind of be safe with it. Then you come back, you do a tournament or two, it feels good, and then something hurts it, and it's not quite as bad as it was, but it's still bad. It's almost like a nagging thing. You know what I mean?
But guess what? We're not spring chickens anymore.
No.
You ain't spring chickens.
Well, it's like I said, once you get in this for a while, you get used to. There's always some sort of discomfort.
Yep.
Always.
Cobra said on the game Arms, he said, you got to learn to make pain a friend of yours. And it sounded so silly, kind of the way he delivered it on the show. And I'm like, what's this guy talking about? But now I get it. Like, you got to make pain a friend, and you got to be able to deal with it.
Yeah,
and deal with it. This is a painful sport, guys. Like, if you're new, like I said it, man. Like my first practice up at the dungeon with Tim and Ron and those guys, and like I drove back with my forearms like for 5 hours, and then like I couldn't sleep, and I had to elevate my arms, and I was like, what is going on? I played football for I got broken ribs, all these injuries, and I'm like, I never experienced that type of pain. Paul, that type of pain is different, and you don't know it until you start pulling.
Paul, we went through the exact same experience.
Hey, listen, everybody who's listening right now who also arm wrestled, we all have this in common, guys. We're all in that fraternity.
All right, my turn to tell my story. So I get done practice. Joe Schaefer whips me on the table for my first ever match because I thought I was a pro, and that's when he told me, brought me back to earth. So I do the practice. Practice went good. I was with Paul Martinetti.
Oh, he's the man.
But after I was done, you play baseball ever in high school? You do?
Yeah.
Remember we used to do these and stuff?
No, yeah, the wrist rollers.
You remember when like you would do so much forearms, but when you were young, so you didn't really understand, they would get so swelled, you would wonder if they were going to pop like balloons, right? You almost were afraid in a little bit. So I'm feeling like this, and I'm going outside first practice. And I go, I think I fucked up already. How am I going to drive? So I go like this.
Yeah.
And then I put it on there, and I go, now what? Because I couldn't move. For like 20 minutes, I sat in the parking lot just like this. And after a few weeks, you get used to it and so on and so forth. But yeah. Do you think that initial practice, like when the first time you go hard, do you think that drives some people away, or do you think that sucks them in?
Absolutely.
Probably both.
It's only
probably drives more away than it sucks in.
Yes, the masochist. You have to be prepared for it mentally. Somebody needs to they need to tip you off. Say, hey, listen, it's gonna suck really bad. But trust me, and it's just like, that first time you go back to the gym and you got that delayed onset muscle soreness, the DOM stuff sticks in, and your first week back to the gym is just horrible if you're like not a gym trained person. It's the same thing with arm wrestling. Somebody has to let you know, listen, and I get new guys. First off, I try and ease them. I try not to beat my new guys up to the point where they're going to experience that until they're already ingrained. Once I know they got bit by the bug, now it's fair game to beat them up. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But I try to let them know, like, listen, it's going to be terrible. And you can go back to Justin Barrett. I drug Justin Barrett down to a Nitro tournament for his first tournament. And he went through, I think I put him in a bunch of classes. I don't know. I just like do everything, but I'll pay for it, do it all. And he was like in his second class, and he already had a war. And he went back to the car, and he had ice on his arm, and threw up. And he was like, I can't go back. And I was like, get your ass up. We're going back there. We already paid. You got another match. Go. You know what I mean? But he's sitting in the car, like hanging out the car, puking because of the pain.
Yeah.
And it was because we had practiced
like a shock. It's almost like a shock.
He still had the pain. It is what it is. And, go back to what Cobra said, man, you got to make pain a friend of yours, get used to it. The good news is, guys, like, once you get past it, you don't really get it again. I'm not saying I miss that pain. I don't miss that pain. But I haven't had that kind of pain in a long time. Like, I've had some tough practices, some of the ones where the guys can really rip me open, like with touching, where I'm getting some good soreness in my elbow, but never like the beginning. Never like the beginning.
Yeah. Well, one thing I also want the new guys to not fall into is sometimes in practice, they just go at it like match style all the time instead of working on mechanics and actually taking the time and the angles and all that stuff.
You're right. You're spot on, dude. arm wrestling, when you go to arm wrestling practice, it's training.
Yeah.
When you go to the gym, you don't do
Right.
100 1 rep sets. You're not maxing out on every set.
Yeah, you're not training for a PR every workout. You know what I mean?
Yes, we got to think about it this way. Like, if you want to get better at arm wrestling, it's not about going and competing against them. You can compete with the guy at the tournament, or you can do king of the table at the end. But really, what it comes down to is learning, creating dexterity, mind muscle connection. Like, if everybody treated arm wrestling like training, like true
Yeah.
training, like the same as you, like,
Yeah.
if you're in the fight world, sparring is only a small portion of your training.
Right.
Like, you got to train before you spar.
So tell me how you bumped into Lucas Raymond, because you two together, you guys do things that transcend the sport itself. How did you link up with him? Did you know
I
him
mean,
before you started arm wrestling?
no, I mean, we actually, the world's a small place, and we had common friends. Like, I actually went to college with one of his high school buddies. So we found that out on the back end. But I mean, Lucas, I met up when I started going to the Scranton practice. You've been to the warehouse up in Scranton.
Yeah.
I went up there, and Lucas had known Storm prior. I mean, PA is kind of, we know each other. We all know each other.
Yeah.
And I met Lucas prior to him going to that WAL finals. I met him a little bit prior, his training up to that, and we just, he's friends with Storm. I became friends with Storm. We all kind of just hung out. And then obviously my second table that I ever bought, my training table, was the training table. And I obviously have bought pretty much like every tool that Lucas has ever made.
Yeah. Well, he's got a very interesting mind. Does he come up with all this shit on his own, or is he?
He is an extremely talented human.
He sounds like he's got science. I feel like he's got the science of the training of this at processing that at a level of an Elon Musk of arm wrestling or something.
Well,
come up with that stuff.
He's listening to people too. Like, when we'll go train with Storm, like, we'll go to the gym and everything, and we'll just talk about ideas. Like,
I love that. Listen, Paul, that goes back to the positive-minded guys who are trying to elevate themselves, get together, and ideas come together with you all together that wouldn't maybe come individually. You're giving us a good example. So go ahead, continue. Yeah.
And it's like, we'll just talk, like, we'll just talk about different things. He's literally, like, he's come up with obviously a shit ton of amazing tools. But like, there's and like the hook finisher tool was something that I saw on a Devin video, and I was like, Lucas, can you make me this stupid L-shaped tool? Because I really want this. And I saw this on a Devin video that I cannot find this Devin video. I can't find it. It's one of his very first ones. It's obscure, and I love this tool. And to this day, I love this tool. Like, I use it twice a week. I love it. And I was like, Lucas, can we like work on some ideas for this tool? Like, can we make some different diameters? Yeah, he was like, oh yeah, here, I'll make you one. Boom. Like, the next day, he was like, all right, come to practice. I have your L tool. Then he, he's like, all right, well, this doesn't work that well the way I'm going to put an eye hook in. Oh, I'm going to put a cone handle on it. So now, like, if you get the cone handle hook finish,
taste. How can I make it better?
Yes.
Yeah.
The new cone, the cone handle hook finisher.
He should make like a little arm wrestling accessory gift set with like a couple different things. And
well, he does. He has a.
That would be a great thing for me, hey guys.
He's got a beginner set. Now, you already got all that, man. You already got all that.
One of the best moments of the year was you and Lucas getting that I don't know his real name, but he says Love Star Sammy.
Mm-hmm.
You got them to table.
Well, let me clear the air on that. I think people give me credit because I post stuff.
No, I know that it's it was a collaboration of people.
Right. So let me shout out to the guy whose idea it was. It's Craig Millett. Craig Millett from Georgia. Okay. So, like,
shout out to Craig Millett, because that's an incredible gesture, man.
Craig Millett is a great dude. Yes. He's hit me up during the pandemic with
getting his credit due.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm not like I think some people are like, oh,
Yeah,
Paul, you're such a great.
I
All
feel
I'm
you.
doing is sharing the gesture that I was blessed enough to be a part of.
I feel
So I'm always like, you come back to like, all right, put